Okay, good morning everyone, and Chazak. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Monday morning as we are studying together a new perashat Korah. Korah, the perashat tells us chapter 16. Vayikach Korah, ben Yitzhar, ben Kehat, ben Levi. So this man by the name of Korah, who was the son of Yitzhar, who was the son of Kehat, who was the son of Levi. So that means that his great-grandpa was Levi. His great-great-grandpa was Yaakov Avinu. So who was this man Korah? Our rabbis, the pasuk, if you know the family tree, Korah is Moshe Rabbeinu's first cousin, right? Because Korah's dad is Yitzhar. Yitzhar's brother is Amram, and Amram's son was Moshe. So, and it's important, by the way, to know the family tree. So if you have a paper and pen and you want to write it, I'm going to write it out for you, just so we could get a little bit of what's going on, okay? So you had over here Yaakov Avinu, right? How many sons did he have? That wasn't a trick question. How many sons did Yaakov Avinu have? 12. Very good, right? The 12 Shevatim. From the 12, one of them was Levi. Okay? So I'm going to write Levi on top. Okay, like that, Levi. Okay? Levi's had how many sons? 3. Okay? Gershon, Kehat, and Merari. Okay? And you'll see it's important to know this to understand the Orah Hayim for today. Then Kehat had, the middle son had 4 sons. Okay? Kehat had Amram, Yitzhar, Hebron, Uziel. Okay? So far everyone with me? So the middle son, Kehat, had 4 sons. Amram, Yitzhar, Hebron, and Uziel. Amram had how many sons? 2, right? Moshe and Aharon. Aharon and Moshe, to be more precise. Aharon and Moshe. And then Yitzhar had over here his son, Korah. Okay? So our perashat is telling us Korah, who was ben Yitzhar, ben Kehat, ben Levi. So he is Moshe Rabbeinu's first cousin. Okay? It tells us that he takes Vayikach Korah. He takes Datan va'Aviram, along with Datan and Aviram, those 2 guys we know, right? Those are the troublemakers. Bnei Eliav, those are the sons of Eliav. Ve'on ben Pelet, and also the On, the son of Pelet, Bnei Reuven. Vayakumu lifnei Moshe, they get up in front of Moshe. Va'anashim bnei Israel hamim yishum 200, along with 250 men of Jewish people. Nesi'ei Eda, Kiri'ei Mo'ed, Anshe Shem, people of importance, and they are known. Vayikahalu Moshe v'Aaron, and they get around Moshe and Aaron, and they say, Rav lachem, you guys have taken too much power. Okay? Ki kol ha'eda kulan kedoshim, we're all holy. What gives you guys the right to stand over us, to be leaders over us? Moshe, Aaron, you guys, we're all holy. We don't need you guys to be leaders, right? Uptocham, and they have Hashem in them. We have the Shekhinah in us. We don't need you. So why do you exalt yourself over the congregation of Hashem? So here we have, my friends, a mahloket. Here we have a someone who is standing, opposing Moshe Rabbeinu's authority. He is challenging Moshe. He's challenging Aharon. Who are you guys? And why do you think that you guys have the right to be over any of us? And it's very interesting because really, Korah, what bothered him? What bothered him? What did he want? Did he want no leaders? Did he want it to be just socialist? That it should be equal? It's not really what he wanted. Really deep down, Korah actually, and we'll see through the commentary today, Korah wanted to be the leader. Korah was a sketch-22. He was a liar. On the outside, he showed we're all equal. We should be the same. But deep down, the guy was as power hungry as anybody else, and he wanted all the power for himself. Now he knew if he comes and he says I should get power, no one's going to listen to him. So he had to come in a disguise. He had to clothe it and say we're all equal, we're the same. But really, Pasuk says, Vayishma Moshe. Moshe heard. And listen to Orah Hayim over here. Pasuk says, Vayishma, Moshe heard. Obviously he heard. Korah's talking to him, for sure he heard. What does it mean that he heard? Says Or HaHayim, Hevin Moshe, Tachlit HaDevarim. Moshe understood the real intention. Right? These scoffers, they didn't really conclude their argument. They didn't specify their true intent. They didn't actually say, we think that we should be leaders. Right? They wanted to be Kohen Gadol. They didn't say that. But deep down, Moshe knew that's what they wanted. And the Pasuk says, Vayishma. Moshe heard the real claim. Even though they did not specify. By the way, that is why he says, okay, you know what? Come, let's see who should be Kohen Gadol. Everyone bring your staff, and let's see which staff grows almonds, and they'll be the Kohen Gadol. Now, you pause over here, and you wonder, what is Moshe suggesting? They didn't mention once Kohen Gadol. And Moshe is saying, okay, fine, let's do a test to see who should be Kohen Gadol. Moshe is like, basically what he's doing, he's like, in your face, I got you. You thought I wouldn't know? You thought I wouldn't, you thought I thought you're arguing about that? I know exactly what you guys want. You guys are power hungry. So you know what? You want Kohen Gadol? Let's see. Come, let's do a test. Vayishma Moshe. Moshe was very smart. Moshe heard the true intention. Well, we open to the first pasuk, my friends, and let's see what the Or HaHayim has to share with us today. Vayikach Korah. Or HaHayim begins with amazing questions. Number one, Tzarich lada'at omro vayikach. What does it mean that he took? What did he take? Pasuk doesn't tell us what he took. V'rabotenu amru, our rabbis say it means lakahat smol etzad ehad. It means he took vayikach, he took himself. He took himself to one side, right? It's like everyone standing on one side. Vayikach Korah, he took himself and he positioned on the other side as if to say, we are not on the same team, we are not on the same page. I am arguing on all of you, and I am opposing Moshe Rabbeinu's authority. So he says, Vayikach, that's what our rabbis say. Vayikach Korah. He took, what did he take? He took himself, right? He took himself to the other side. Ulderech zeh haser atzmo, but says the Or HaHayim, this approach doesn't really fit the text. The wording doesn't make sense. Because again, the Pasuk says, Vayikach Korah, and Korah took. According to the rabbis, it should have said, Korah took himself. It's missing that key word, right? Who did he take, right? The part about him taking himself is missing. Because when it says Korah, it's talking about the person who did the taking. Korah took, but who? He took himself. It doesn't say himself. So that's question one of the Or HaHayim. Yeah, it's missing the subject of who is being taken. Okay, fine. Number two. There's another question here. Why in the world is Hashem mentioning the tzaddikim, Yitzhar, Kehat, Levi, right? The Pasuk lists Korah, the son of Yitzhar, the son of Kehat, the son of Levi, and it seems like it's going back very, very far back. Okay? Usually when we list people, we don't tell you that much. We tell you maybe his father. Here, we're telling you his father, his grandpa, and his great-grandpa. Not only that, our rabbis say that Yaakov Avinu was going to be next in line. He was going to also be mentioned. It was going to say, Korah, ben Yitzhar, ben Kehat, ben Levi, ben Yaakov. It was going to go even further up in the family tree. But it didn't. Why? Our rabbis say, Hitpalel Yaakov al atzmo, shelo yizacher ma'aseh zeh. Yaakov Avinu prayed that he shouldn't be mentioned in connection with this incident. And because he prayed, God answered him. And so he stopped there by Levi. He didn't mention Yaakov. And obviously the question is, asks the Or HaHayim, forget about Yaakov. You shouldn't mention Yaakov. You shouldn't mention anybody for that matter. Okay? Yes, he didn't want to be associated, Yaakov Avinu, so he prayed not to be mentioned. He saw the future, I guess, and he prayed not to be mentioned here. But again, the whole idea that Yaakov is, that anyone should be mentioned, bothers the Or HaHayim tremendously over here in our Pasuk. Ani mitpaleh, I'm even puzzled about those the Torah did mention. There's no purpose in mentioning all of these people. That's question two. Okay, you writing these down? Question one, Who did he take? It doesn't say. Question 2, why does it list all of his ancestors? Number 3, Kavanat HaKatuv b'ma'amar v'datan v'aviram. The Torah says he took Datan and Aviram. Okay? What does that mean? Datan v'aviram. Ma kavanat HaKatuv. What exactly is their function over here in this dispute? If it means to say that they also separated themselves, right? Like Korah separated himself, and also these guys separated themselves. It should have said then, if they're part of the ones doing the taking, it shouldn't have said Vayikach Korach. Vayikach is what? Singular. Vayikach Korah means he took. But if they also were part of the taking, it should have said Vayikhu Korah V'datan V'aviram. Plural. They took. It says he took, and it leaves out the them from the doing of the taking. Ve'yomar V'yikhu Korah V'datan V'aviram. It should have said V'yikhu. Im kavanato lomar shekorah lakach otam. If he took them, if maybe the pasuk means you'll say, okay, vayikach Korah. Now you answered your own question. Korah took Datan and Aviram. Then you answered both questions, right? Knock two birds with one stone. That doesn't work over here, because it says Vedatan va'aviram. Look at the words. It says Korah took and Datan and Aviram. If he took them, it should have said Vayikach Korah Datan va'aviram. Right? It should have said Korah took them. He took those two guys. Fine. Number 4, Vayakumu lifnei Moshe. It says they stood up in front of Moshe. What does that mean that they stood up? If it means that they argued, but it says that later on in the next pasuk. Vayikahalu. In the next pasuk it says that they gathered against Moshe. Maybe it means that they stood up literally just straight in front of Moshe with an erect posture. Then the pasukim don't flow properly. If first should have said, right, that they gathered, vayikahalu, they gathered around Moshe, vayakumu, and they stood in front of him, right? They stood brazenly, and they said. But to stand and then to gather is a little bit out of order. Finally, lamma hifsig ben vayakumu levayikahalu va'anashim b'nei Israel. Along with Korah and Datan and Aviram came 250 men. But it's very interesting because these 250 guys, they come in the middle of the two verbs of standing and gathering. It says Korah came and he stood along with 250 men and they gathered. Yes? So if you read the pasuk, you'll notice it doesn't list all the people in one section and then the verbs in another section. It lists some people and then a verb and then another people and then another verb. Okay? So these questions together, Ora Haim now wants to formulate something beautiful. Nitkaven HaKatuv lehodia. Pasuk is coming to tell us. Yesod devar mahloket. It's telling us really the basis of Korah's dispute. You know, a person's going to ask, Yomar Adam, a guy will ask, Minayin ala dat Korah lalok al navi ha-ne'eman asher tzadku nevuato. You know, you got to really wonder, if you're Korah, right? You're watching this story. You see Korah about to stand up against Moshe, right? There's some people that you don't pick fights against, right? Some people are just too powerful. You don't fight against guys like Moshe, right? What in the world did Korah see to make him think that he stood a chance? Right? You got to pick your battle. You fight with someone who's in your league. You don't fight against such a strong guy like Moshe, right? You want to take someone down, you have to be like so confident in the level that you're on, that you feel that you're worthy, that people should listen to you over him, right? Just think about you're in a company, you want to take down the boss, right? If the boss is a very, very popular guy, very successful guy, everyone loves him, very friendly, right? And you're a nobody, you're not gonna try to overthrow him. You know you have no chance, right? You don't fight battles that you can't win. So Korah, what entered his head? that he thought he could oppose Moshe, Ne'eman, Asher tzadku nebu'ato. Think about Moshe's track record here. How much he was already, how successful, his rating, how much he did, right? All the miracles. And now you want to come, you want to argue on this guy? Korah chacham gadol haya. Even more really is our rabbis tell us, Korah was very, very smart. Korah was a smart man, okay? Korah was a smart guy. So, what makes him think of here that he's going to be able to get away with this? Arguing on Moshe, fighting on Moshe, right? It's a tall order, no? So, says the Orah Hayim over here to answer these questions. Look what he says. Right? Hello, Kol Yisrael Girmo to Avin. For sure, it must have occurred to Korah that the second you try to stand up and attack Moshe, everyone's going to stone him to death. Right? Moshe was like the first Rebbe. Think about today, a Rebbe of a Hasidic sect, you know? Imagine one guy says anything against the rabbi, they kill you before you get to say a word. You know what I mean? The guys, they're going to eat him for chopped liver with the Sodash Lishi. You know what I mean? The guy, he arguing on Moshe Rabbeinu. So therefore, to elaborate why Korah thought he had a chance, this is what our pasuk is coming to say. And look at the Orah Hayim over here. To this end, it says Korah took. It means Vayikah Korah. It doesn't mean that he took somebody. It doesn't mean that he took, them. No. He took the following points into consideration when arguing on Moshe. That's what it means. Vayikah Korah. Korah calculated the following. Number 1, Ben Yitzhar, that he comes from Yitzhar. You see what he's doing here? It's not telling us who Korah is. If it's telling us who he is, we know who he is. You didn't have to mention his great-grandpa and everyone like that. You could have just told me Korah. We know it's Korah. Maybe just telling me his dad, and for sure then I'll know who Korah is. But it says the Orah Hayim, I'm not telling you his lineage, his ancestry. I'm telling you what he took. Vayikah Korah. Korah took Ben Yitzhar, the fact that he was the son of Yitzhar. Ben Kehat, the fact that he was the son of Kehat. Ben Levi, the fact that the son that he was Levi. Look at the Orah Hayim over here. Heyoto Ben Yitzhar, shehu gadol mishnei ahim habayim acharav. So he first of all took the fact that he's from Yitzhar. Now again, look at this family tree that we drew earlier. Okay, Korah is Yitzhar. So who is greater than Korah from the family? Besides Moshe and Aharon. And again, obviously he's arguing on Moshe and Aharon. So besides for them too, who's greater than him from all the rest of the family? Nobody. He's the biggest guy. You see it? He's the strongest guy. He's the oldest guy. The other cousins after him of Hebron and Uziel, right? They're not going to have a chance. They're younger than him. So first of all, he took the fact that he's the oldest cousin remaining. Okay? Aharav, right? Then he takes the fact that he is Ben Kehat. Kehat is the most important of the 3 sons of Levi, even though he's the middle son. Shayu nosim kodesh kodashim. Remember that you carried the most holy items in the Mishkan. The 3 brothers, Gershon, Kehat, and Merari, each one had a different item that they carried when it was time to transport the Mishkan from place to place. And Kehat's job was to move the vessels. He had the most important job. And not only that, but from all of Kehat's kids, you know who carried the Aron, the holy ark? Korah minos'e Aron haya. Korah was the guy who carried the Aron. So therefore, the first and third brothers will not argue on Korah, because Korah comes from Kehat. Kehat's the biggest brother. Thirdly, Ben Levi. He takes the fact that he's from Levi, shehu shevet me'ulei mikol Yisrael, which is the foremost tribe of all of Israel. And no other tribe would challenge Korah if he were to argue on Moshe. Because really, he is superior to all other tribes. So therefore, Korah takes the fact that he knows when he comes to argue, he is literally, if you say, after Moshe and Aharon, who was the most important guy in all of the Jewish people, 600,000 men, who's the most important guy besides Moshe and Aharon? Next guy in line is Korah. It's crazy to think. But Korah's the next guy in line. And that's why Korah was so confident that he could fight this. And there'll be no one in between to step up. Because it's true. It's true, maybe he's not as great as Moshe. So people would want to stone him. But no one could tell him anything because they're not as great as him. He's the next most important guy in the Jewish community. So he takes all of these facts, right? He takes all of this information. He takes the Vayikach. Now you understand what it means, Vayikach Korah. He took the fact that he's Ben Yitzhar, that he's Ben Kehat, Ben Levi. But the pasuk doesn't end there. Vedatan ve'aviram. Perush gam otam lakah. He also takes Datan and Aviram. What does that mean? Kedei le'ar'er gam mekoham. He's trying to contest Aharon's appointment, also using the power of their claim against Aharon. He doesn't only take the fact that he's the oldest in the family, that he's the most important guy. He takes something else. He takes these two guys, Datan and Aviram. Why them? Shehem gdolei shevet Reuven abechor leYaakov. Because they were prominent members of the tribe of Reuven, the firstborn of Yaakov. And actually, they also had a right to the claim of Kehuna. You know, Korah's a very smart man. He's strategic. He picks his men, he picks his team, his cabinet, if you will, very wisely, right? He knows, I need this guy to fight this element and this guy to fight that element. So he puts together the perfect team. And part of that team are these two guys, Datan and Aviram. Now, Datan and Aviram, to me and you, we know these guys. They're bad guys. But that's only because we're Monday morning quarterback. It's because we know the end of the story. It's because we read Chumash. But if you were living in real time, by the way, Datan and Aviram, you wouldn't know that they were bad guys. Actually, you should know that Datan and Aviram were very, very outwardly righteous people on the outside. They were very impressive. People liked them. We know that Datan and Aviram, actually, according to our rabbis, they were part of the original policemen in Egypt. Remember the system? You had Jews were slaves. On top of the Jews, there were policemen making sure that the Jews did their job. Now you should know that the policemen were also themselves Jews. And they had to beat their own brothers to make sure that they filled the quota. And it's not an easy thing to do. If you're a Jew, to hit another Jew, it's very hard. Our rabbis tell us that Datan and Aviram were of these policemen. And what makes them so great is the fact that they actually never once raised their whip against another Jew. And that meant, by the way, that the guy on top of them, because each officer has an officer on top of him, that they're going to get whipped if the quota is not met. And the Datan and Aviram, they literally would take beatings in order not to have to afflict or put pressure or to rush and hurry the other Jewish brethren. And it's a very praiseworthy thing. They mastered a trait called in Hebrew, noseh be'ol havero. They were able to carry their friend's burden. So as an example, when Moshe came the first time and they didn't meet, and Paro's like, yeah, you want to go free? I'm going to double the work. And now they had to find their own straw, and they for sure were not able to meet the quota. So Datan and Aviram, they took the beatings for their brothers. They got whipped instead of the Jewish people that were slaves. They took it. And that's why anytime they came and they argued against Moshe, they had a little bit of a right to do so. Because people knew that these guys, they loved the Jewish people. These guys, anytime there was a problem, they were happy to take the beating. Right? So Korah picks them very, very smart. Korah knows who he's picking. He knows these guys are the best guys to have on my team. Because if I come with them against Moshe, I have the two most empathetic guys in the world with me. No one's more empathy than them. So it's like, wow, brilliant, right? Korah, he picks the right guys. These are the guys, if anyone in the whole world, that could say to Moshe, come on, you're hurting the Jews, and we know what it means to get hurt. We know what it means to feel pain. we've taken it. We've gotten beatings for Jews. So these two guys, Datan and Aviram, and they're Reuven, they're the oldest. They come from the oldest tribe. So Korah, this is what the pasuk is saying. Vayikach Korah. Korah takes the fact that he is Ben Yitzhar, Ben Kehat, Ben Levi. He also takes Vedatan and Aviram. Now the Ve makes sense, because he also takes them, along with the three things that he took before about where he comes from. And with all of this, they all consider themselves important. Vayakumu lifnei Moshe, my friends, and they get up against Moshe Rabbeinu. They stand up against Moshe. Perush kimau ma'ala be'hashva'im Moshe. They felt in a way that they could be equal to Moshe. Korah l'mashu k'kaneskar. Korah, because of where he comes from. Datan and Aviram tzad yotam g'dolei Reuven, and the other two because they come from the oldest brother from Reuven, from the tribe of Reuven, and he's older even than Levi. Are you guys following this? So now you read the pasuk with different appreciation. The pasuk doesn't end though. It says, "Vayakumu lifnei Moshe." They get up, right? And then va'anashim b'nei Yisrael hamishim mata'im. And then there's another verb, another subject, along with 250 men. Pasuk saying, "Ki gam elu lakahemo." Korah also takes these 250 guys. L'tzad yotam gidolei Yisrael, because they were great men of Israel. Kedei lehalek zera'otav, in order to bolster his position. But these 250, they're not in the same category as the other three guys. Korah, Datan, and Aviram were a different league. They actually thought that they could stand on Moshe's level in a way. But these 250, they couldn't be on his level. But they were just there to support. They were like voters, right? They were supporting pillars, supporting people. They weren't on the caliber that they felt that they could defeat Moshe themselves, but they did think Korah was right. So that's why they're in their own league. So you have two different categories of people. The ones that thought that they maybe could win, and then everyone else supporting them. So that's why the verb is in between the two. This really, amazing, by the way, answers all the questions. The Or HaHaim though continues and he says, we can probably also give another explanation. What really got to Korah here? What bothered him? Did he want to be Kohen Gadol? You want to be Kohen Gadol? I mean, at the end of the day, you are younger than Aharon. So if you're playing the older card, then you're not the oldest. So what did he want? What bothered him? Our rabbis tell us that there was a younger cousin who actually was appointed prince of the tribe. And it was this point that killed Korah most. Korah, he could handle Moshe getting king. He could handle Aharon getting Kohen Gadol. After all, they are older than me, right? They're older than me. Aharon and Moshe and Korah is here. They're older. But what he couldn't handle was when the youngest cousin, I didn't write him down, but there was a cousin called Elitzaphan ben Uziel. So Elitzaphan, here we go. Elitzaphan is the youngest cousin. And he's Korah's younger cousin. And he gets picked, Moshe Rabbeinu, when it's time to pick the family, the head of the family, he gives it to Elitzaphan. Natan lo Moshe nesiut. And this Korah could no longer handle. So now, when he sees this, Korah takes, the pasuk says that he what does it mean he takes? It means he prepares a set of inconsistencies in Moshe's conduct. So this is a new answer now. Answer one, Vayikach Korah. Korah took the fact that he was an important guy. Ben Yitzhar, Ben Kehat, Ben Levi. But now he's taking something else, a new answer. Rishona ta'anoto heyoto Ben Yitzhar. Says Or HaHaim, now a new answer. Vayikach, he's taking the following arguments, so the following inconsistencies in Moshe Rabbeinu's conduct? Okay, what are the inconsistencies? Heyoto ben Yitzhar. Number one was the fact that he was the son of Yitzhar. What does that mean? Mema nafshach. Either way, however you, Moshe, want to view it, you're wrong. Look what he tells Moshe. If you want to say that we follow the order of eldest, which is why you and Aharon went first, because you come from Amram, you come from the oldest son Amram. So the next cousin in line is me. The next brother after Amram is Yitzhar, my father. So if you're going after age, after eldest, I'm the next older. I'm the next old guy in the line. Hu anavat Moshe ba mimenu Aharon. Vekodem leHevron veUziel. And I come before Hebron and Uziel, the younger two brothers, the younger two cousins. Lama natata nesiut leEli tzafan. So why'd you skip me, Moshe? If you're going in age, I'm next in line. Clearly, you don't give any prominence to the eldest of the sons. If you don't give prominence to the oldest, then why'd you pick Aharon to be Kohen Gadol? Why'd you pick yourself to be king? Either way, you're wrong, Moshe. If you're going with oldest, I'm next in oldest. If you're going not with oldest, then why'd you pick Aharon? It's not fair. And therefore, since Moshe, you are inconsistent. Wow. Now he's trying to put Moshe in the category of a speaker of falsehood. Moshe, you're a liar. You're making this whole thing up as you go. And the fact that you're inconsistent also shows that what Aharon also, you don't know what you're talking about. You see, Korah's whole argument here is trying to show Moshe is inconsistent. And by the way, we know this. There's another midrash that Korah came, and another answer to the question, Vayikach, what did he take? Our rabbis say, whenever there's a pronoun, it's always referring to the most recent thing above, right? Like if it is, as an example, when you're reading a book and it says in the book, he went. Who's he? He went. Who's the he? You have to go back to the sentence before and see who's the noun over there. So when it says Korah took, it doesn't say what he took. So our rabbis say, go back to the paragraph right before, and you'll know what he took. Anyone know what was the paragraph last week, right before this week's perashat? The ending of last week's perashat was the famous, give you a few seconds, tzitzit. The ending of last week's parasha, the last pasuk before this week's parasha, was tzitzit. Our rabbis say, Vayikach Korah. Korah took the tzitzit. And he came and he dressed these 250 men in a robe. You ready for this one? A robe that was all techelet. Now that's one expensive robe. Okay, Korah was a rich man though. He didn't mind throwing away money. So he came and he took all of these 250 men. He dressed them up in a robe that was all techelet. Techelet, it's like an indigo, dye. It's a color that's rare. You don't have it today. We don't know if we have it because it's from a certain worm or snail from the sea, and it's a beautiful color like a blue, a certain shade of blue. But the Torah says that really, ideally, the tzitzit that you wear should have from the 4 strings that are on each corner, right? We know there's 4 strings that are doubled into 8. So from the 4 strings, one of them should ideally be techelet. Now, if you don't have techelet, okay, you could do all of them white, which is what many people have today. We have white tzitzit strings. But ideally, one of them should be techelet. If you have the color, if you find the worm. Why? Because the techelet is the one that reminds you of the sky, right? It reminds you of God, reminds you of Kisei HaKavod, it reminds you of mitzvot, right? Pasuk says, when you see the techelet, uschartem, you'll remember God. It's kol mitzvot Hashem, right? You remember all the mitzvot. So the Pasuk, the Torah tells us that you're supposed to wear a techelet, a thin blue thread, to remember Hashem. Our rabbis say that Korah came Vayikah, and he took the tzitzit. He dressed these 250 men, but he didn't put strings on the corner. Instead, you know what he did? He was a very smart man. Look what he did, very clever. He put the whole robe, instead of one little thread techelet on the corner, the whole thing was techelet thread. And he said, Moshe, I have a question for you. Tell me, these 250 men, the tzitzit, do I have to add the strings? They're wearing blue shirts. Do I need a string on the corner? Moshe said, of course, you need tzitzit. You have to have the strings. It's a four-cornered garment. You got to put the string. So what are you talking about, Moshe? Look how inconsistent you are. If I have a white shirt, or a blue shirt, or any shirt, and I put the techelet, one techelet thread is enough to remind me of God. Here, the whole thing is techelet. That's not enough. I still need the thread on the corner. Look, Moshe, how inconsistent you are. You're inconsistent with your laws. You're inconsistent with who you're appointing. You're picking over here oldest, then you're jumping to the youngest. Inconsistent, Moshe. He gave him another example. He said, look, you come into a room, we know that on the door of each room there's a mezuzah. Okay? So he said to him, tell me, when you come into if I have a room, let's say I have a room filled with Sifrei Torah. Sefer Torah, we know, has hundreds of paragraphs. So if I have a room with a room filled from top to bottom with Sifrei Torah, do I still need a mezuzah on the door? Do you need a mezuzah? Interesting question, no? What do you guys say? Do you need a mezuzah on a door of a room that the whole room is filled with books? Moshe said, yes, you do. So he said, again, another inconsistency, Moshe. When the room is empty, all you have is a sofa, then you need one little parchment on the door, covers you. Here, the whole room is parchments. The whole room is filled with books. You now still need a book on the corner? You see, I'm telling you, Moshe, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just making things as you go. It's inconsistent. And this is all part of Korah's argument against Moshe. So Vayikah, he takes, what does he take? He takes, right? He takes the fact that Moshe is, these are the arguments that he takes, the inconsistencies. So if you're going with the oldest, why am I being skipped? If you're going with not oldest, then why'd you pick Aaron? So Moshe is just a liar. When he picked Aaron, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Beautiful. Now, there is another question here, though, in the back of Korah's mind. You have to realize Korah thought he planned this out very well. He didn't just stand up one day to argue on Moshe. He planned this out for weeks and weeks and weeks. And he understands that there's going to be one problem with his argument. And the problem is, fine. So you want to go with oldest. Fine, so we won't pick the youngest cousin. We won't pick the youngest cousin. So, really, what does Korah want? Korah wants to be Kohen Gadol. Fine. So, Moshe will say a very simple answer. All right, Korah, you're right. You're right, I was inconsistent. We should go with the oldest. Aharon's the oldest. He wins. You're out. Meaning it's a lose-lose for Korah. There's no way that he wins this. There's no way that he comes out being picked Kohen Gadol. Because no matter what he tries to, whatever card he plays, it's still not going to be him. Right? You want to play the oldest card, fine. So Aharon's the oldest. You want to play the where it's we don't base it on the age. So then why you? Meaning what? Where's Korah win over here? The only way Korah wins is that you don't give it to the youngest cousin. Meaning even a win only helps to ruin somebody else. Right? It's like, I remember one time when I was a little kid, we were driving in the car, my whole family, and I was fourth in the family. Okay, I'm the youngest kid. I'm one of the youngest kids. So I remember we were driving back somewhere, and my oldest brother was sitting shotgun. Okay, he sat shotgun. Then on the way back, sat shotgun again. So I said, wait, Zafeh, why is he sitting shotgun? Nah, he already sat in the front. Now the truth is I wasn't thinking. Because even if I'm right, so I'm not next guy in line, right? Even if I'm right that they fine, he shouldn't sit twice in a row. There's two older people above me that are gonna sit in the front, right? So in no world do I win this. Korah understands that he's in the same predicament, that there's no way he wins this argument. Meaning, fine, you're right. So the youngest cousin's out. But what do you want? That you should be older than Aharon? You're not. Aharon still wins over you. Everyone knows oldest is first. So you're right. You could say it's not fair. You're giving it to the youngest cousin. Okay, yeah, I won't give it to the youngest cousin. I'll give it to the oldest. And oldest is Aharon. Look at this. Korah, look what he does. He comes over here and he brings the Reuven's kids, Datan and Aviram. Why did he bring them? What was the point of bringing Datan and Aviram? And look what he says over here. Because Datan and Aviram come from Reuven. And that really, Kehuna should have gone to who? Reuven. Reuven's the oldest. So he brings these guys, Datan and Aviram. Lomar, and he's bringing them to say the following amazing thing. Im tachrichu lomar halecha har gadol. Moshe, if you want to go after the oldest, there's actually an even older oldest than Aharon. Because Aharon only comes from Levi, from the third son. But there's actually an oldest, and that's Reuven. So Kohuna Gedolah should go to Datan and Aviram's, Reuven's kids. Amazing. So this is he brings every possible opportunity, every person. He played it out in his head. He understood. It's not fair. It should go to the oldest. He gave it to the youngest guy. And then, by the way, the oldest is not even you, Aharon. It's not even you, Moshe. It's not even me. It's Datan, it's Aviram. We should go to the Bechor, Shebechol Ahim. And if you're going to say, well, you could skip the oldest, so then I could skip Aharon too. And then maybe it should come to me. So this is really, with all of this, my friends, Vayakumu lifnei Moshe. They stand up in front of Moshe, and now they're ready to fight. Now they're ready to present all of their arguments, all of their claims. They have a valid point of view. This is, my friends, the Orah Hayim on the opening pasuk. Tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem, as we continue in these classes, we'll see what did Moshe say, what was the rebuttal, was Korah right? What was he wrong? Sounds like he has a point, right? B'ezrat Hashem, we'll continue in these classes tomorrow. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.